Hey, so I told y'all that I had done the Whitney Houston video earlier in the week, but somehow it was YouTube. Something happened where YouTube wouldn't allow it to play. So I'm going to do it all. I'm going to start it all over again, and we're going to try it like that. Whitney Houston. As y'all know, actually her homegoing service is today, 6 years ago today, and Whitney Houston being one of the most strongest R&B queens in terms of her that gift she was given from the Creator and the ancestors, man. She was phenomenal. One of my favorite singers, female singers. She had swag and everything with her, and that's what made her great. But I'll tell you the story of how this motherfucking faggot, Clive Davis, is largely responsible for the murder of Whitney Houston, because she was murdered. And what happened was, when Whitney went through her turmoil, and she, there's no secret about the drug use and all of that stuff, and she had gotten herself together. Her and Bobby had separated, and she was on a comeback ride. She was on the comeback trail. Clive Davis, knowing this, had already replaced Whitney with Jennifer Hudson, who had already completed the ritual, the Baphomet ritual killings of her family. In other words, Jennifer Hudson allowed her family to be ritually murdered and savagely murdered to show her loyalty to the industry, but to most of all Clive Davis. Because you never saw Jennifer Hudson shed not one tear. You never saw her show any type of emotion of sadness in any interview that she had conducted during the time that her family was murdered. And the actual murder, that they said Whitney drowned in the tub. How could she have drowned in the tub when she was found face down, like this picture, face down, naked, on the floor of the hotel room? Now, Ray J, who plays a major part in this as well, based on what Leola Brown, Bobby Brown's sister, was saying, who was Whitney's former manager and I guess caretaker, who saw Ray J run out of the room, and who was believed to have set the entire crime scene up, as far as putting the drugs all around Whitney's body, the pills and everything, to create this crime scene, to make it appear that Whitney met her demise as a result of a relapse and drug use and taking these pills, these barbiturates, which is totally false. So, this is the homegoing service where some family member used their phone to take a picture of Whitney in her casket as she's laid to rest, and sold it to the National Enquirer for $10,000. Now, that shouldn't be hard to find out which family member done some cruddy shit like that and violated the wishes of Whitney's family. Well, particularly Sissy Houston, Whitney's mother. You know, all you have to do is look and see who was struggling financially, and which family member was struggling to the point where $10,000 would have came in handy. You know, so now the funeral, which is a Illuminati ritual funeral, and you will know that by when you see pallbearers, white pallbearers, when they have the caskets on their shoulders. That means this is a ritual ceremony. And when they have their hands, left hand over the right hand, meaning falsehood over truth. And also they had two pillars, two Kemetic pillars, where they tried to make the Kemetic pillars represent pagan worship, which is a violation of our ancestors. Whenever they use that word to describe our Kemetic ancestors, that's a spit in the face, you know, to Imhotep and all of our other ancestors by saying pagan, you know, you know, and most of all, it's mostly Christians that don't have knowledge, and unconscious Christians that say that stupid shit, you know. But when you see these white boys that are Scottish and York Rite Masons carrying the casket on their shoulders, that's a ritual that's being carried out. You know, as you can see there. Because usually pallbearers are those who next to kin and, you know, or siblings. And so let's go back a little bit to when Whitney was in the hotel room on the floor. This dick-eating faggot ordered that Whitney stay on the floor and her body not be touched by anyone. No medical examiner, no coroner, or anyone until the Grammy program is over with. Now, have you ever heard of anything like that? That means that a lot of people were paid off by Clive Davis. So you really can't even believe whatever the medical examiner print out as cause of death of Whitney. Anytime he was ordered and paid not to touch her body, and she lay on that floor over 11 hours where rigor mortis sat in. You know, and depending on the temperature of the room, which they probably had the air conditioner on high to keep the body cold, you know, for the 11 plus hours that she lay on the floor. And why was it that no family member or no one questioned or, you know, made an effort to go and have her body taken to a mortuary or a hospital or anything? You know, what was the situation with that? That's an unanswered question, a big unanswered question. That they allowed that shit to take place. Her brother Gary and all of them, they supposed to be so tough, you know. But how did they allow this to take place? And then, you know, and then the Grammy ceremonies go on, because it was the Grammy ceremony was a ritual. That was a ritual. Starting, and Nicki Minaj was used. As you can see, she's dressed with Queen Elizabeth, with the Queen Elizabeth sewn on the front of her dress, and that's one of the dresses that so-called Queen Elizabeth wears, or that type of design, you know. But she's no queen to me, you know. My queen is right here. The queens are melanated, you know. And Nicki Minaj was used because that was the birthday of Queen Elizabeth. which is Whitney's middle name, Elizabeth. And so Nicki Minaj was used to be this type of Little Red Riding Hood, getting snatched up by the white fucking wolf, where you see this fucking faggot dressed as an archbishop or papal assistant. You know, see, this is part of a ritual. This is part of this sacrifice. This is part of the blood and blood, flesh for flesh ritual ceremony, along with the ascension. These people don't play. And as you see, Nicki Minaj, you know, all her dancers had on hooded robes, you know, representing the eyes wide shut ritual, ceremonial ritual. The movie with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, with Stanley Kubrick. He directed that movie, and which right after, before the movie premiered, he died mysteriously, in which they said was some type of ritual murder. But that's the same movie that caused Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman to divorce, because of the sex rituals and the murders, the ritual killings that took place in that movie. It's called Eyes Wide Shut. You know, you can see Nicki Minaj with the two horns in her head made out of hair, the weave that she has in her head. Because she'll do anything. And this is Nicki Minaj ascending in mid-air, symbolic to Whitney Houston ascending. This was the purpose of this entire ritual ceremony that was done right in the face of national television. And most people didn't even catch on to what was going on. Now, all of this is taking place while Whitney is still on the floor in the hotel. And here, you know, Michael Jackson has always told Whitney about the business, how ruthless these motherfuckers were. And he also told Whitney about Clive. That's why Michael didn't fuck with Clive Davis. You know, and Michael Jackson, a lot of people don't know, he had a fetish for sisters that could sing. Because Whitney spent the night with him, Mickey Howard spent the night with him, Stephanie Mills spent the night with him. He had a thing for sisters with powerful voices. That turned Mike on. A lot of people don't know that. And so, you know, it is said that, you know, he had sex with these women, with Whitney, Mickey, and Stephanie Mills. You know, because Mickey Howard has a son named Brandon that looks and acts and talks just like Michael Jackson. You know, so check it out. You know, and you know, Bobby Brown, who caught pure hell from the beginning. He was blamed for Whitney's drug use, when in fact Whitney turned Bobby on to the narcotics. Because before Bobby met Whitney, he may have drank a little and may have smoked a couple of J's of weed, but that was the extent of it. He was on a high in terms of his entertainment, in terms of his platinum albums, you know. But when he and Whitney, you know, when they got together, you know, that's when, you know, the drug use just escalated. You know, and they had the millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to do it with. So, you know, to the point where everything was just out of control. Everything was out of control. And it filtered down to Bobby Christina. You know, both of their performances, you know, when Bobby was at this point in his life, Don't Be Cruel, and you know, he was really topping the charts. He was crushing the music billboards. You know, and at the same time, he was back and forth with the group New Edition, which that's how he originally started. You know, which New Edition, we all know, never failed. They always stood the test of time. Now, everybody had this hatred for Bobby Brown, and then all of a sudden when the New Edition movie comes out, you know, people have this overwhelming love for Bobby Brown. You know, and that just shows the phoniness in the industry. That shows the phoniness and backstabbing mentality, not on just the music industry, but the black community as a whole. You know, so, you know, Bobby, you know, like I said, you know, the whole world was against him. And can you imagine being blamed for someone else's addiction and having to, you know, be in public and being put down and hated, you know, because Bobby ended up catching several arrests, drug charges, wrecking vehicles and the like, you know, based on the fact of his drug and alcohol use, which he cleaned himself up too once he and Whitney separated, you know. However, Bobby needs to go back on reality TV and go back to the training to lose some weight, because he, you know, a recent picture, he looked very toxic, and he's about 50 pounds overweight. You know. So, you know, Bobby Christina, who, you know, was murdered by this homosexual Nick Gordon. You know, because what happened when Whitney passed, Bobby Christina had the money. All the money, and hundreds of millions of dollars was going to Bobby Christina. And so everyone wanted to surround themselves around her. Some play, and by this time, she had an addiction to opiates and alcohol. You know, and Nick Gordon was just pumping, keeping her drugged up where he can continue using the money, because he played like he wanted to marry her, but they grew up as brother and sister. And then when Whitney passes, now you want to be a husband. You know, it was just about money. It was just about money. And then Bobby, you know, wanted to really put something on Nick's ass, because Nick Gordon got on national TV and called Bobby all these names and all this, something that he wouldn't say to Bobby's face or to Landon, Bobby's oldest child, Bobby's son, because he said he wants to tear off in Nick's ass at any given time, or anytime he catches up with him, you know. And so, you know, the drinking and drugging, you know, they really was getting it in. You know, and Jennifer Hudson, she just was a opportunist. You know, if you look in her eyes, you can't see anything behind her eyes. It's an emptiness, because her soul is like a shoebox with no shoes in it. You know, she has an emptiness because she realized that she had her mother, her brother, she had them murdered for fame and fortune. You know, and that's the real sad part about it, that William Balfour, who has always said he was innocent, in which I truly believe he's innocent, because there's no way he could have taken all them down like that. by himself. I believe that he was used as a scapegoat. The real killers are probably in the industry. Because this music industry has hundreds and hundreds of hitmen, henchmen, security, bodyguards, martial arts experts and the like. So it doesn't take much for someone to try to grab an entertainer and get your ass broke up. So Sissy Houston, that's Whitney's mother. She's a very, very powerful woman, elder. She has a lot of anger issues as well, but at the same time, she just wanted the best for Whitney. She wanted Whitney to live a clean, wholesome life. Because it wasn't about money with Sissy, because Sissy Houston was the first one to have wealth, because she is a renowned gospel singer, and she sang with the best of gospel's greatest, Mahalia Jackson and that whole mob, and she just wanted the best for Whitney. And she really didn't like Bobby, because she was under the impression that Bobby was the first, that Bobby turned her out on the drugs. So, but she knows better now, though. And when this buckwheat and your mama, cream of wheat eating healthful right here, when she's involved, something's gonna happen. And not long after Oprah puts her motherfucking fat hands on something's gonna kick off. And this was right before Bobby Christina made her ascension. So, not only Jennifer Hudson, but Rihanna, they were all bucking, and Brandy, bucking for Whitney's position as being the number one quote-unquote diva, music, R&B diva. Which none of them can't, none of them. I'm talking about young Whitney, Jennifer Hudson, and Rihanna combined couldn't touch her. And at the homegoing service, Tyler Perry, who spoke, who didn't even know Whitney. But this is what money will do. You can buy a slot on the motherfucking roster to speak. And that's what happened with Tyler Perry. And they go up that line talking about Whitney called them the night before she ascended and all that. Those are just straight fucking lies. So, excuse me one second. So those are the things, like, people, turn the this sister's funeral service into a damn circus, which personally I believe shouldn't have never been televised. And because it takes the it's too many different spirits and energies that are not conducive, to the deceased individual, for them to have a pleasant journey. And that's just my opinion, that's just my opinion, so, and this faggot here, Ray J. Now, let me explain this to you about Ray J. He talked about Raz B from B2K, who the group B2K, they were all molested, and their man who was taken by their cousin, Uncle Chris Stokes, who was their manager. And Ray J made a song, you know, clowning them about that. But Ray J was done the same way, you know, by Diddy and the gang. So, you know, but you play like you're this thug because you made a video with Lil' Kim, you know, which they said you were scared to even go at her when she was trying to, you know, give you a little piece. You know, you acted like Ben Gay, but in all reality, you know, your little cookie hole been tampered with too. You know, and I know that for a fact because
critical battery.
They had that on you. They had that on you. Excuse me. Okay, so you know, like I said, once again, Bobby Brown caught hell. You know, pure hell. And you know, I'm glad that you know, well, he remarried and everything, and I'm glad that he got himself back together. You know, he's on track. He's trying to live a quiet life after, you know, over 2 decades of complete turmoil, in and out of jail, rehab, and just a whole bunch of things that a heterosexual black male goes through in the industry. Now, let me explain this to you as well. They had to make sure that Bobby Brown was away from Whitney for the sacrifice to take place, because Bobby is down with all those rituals. You know, he's very, very sharp and clear, and he learned early on. You know, when he went solo as a teenager, he learned about the business early on. He knew who the pedophiles and the sodomites were, you know, and what they do in the industry. So they had to make sure he was out of the picture before they could move on Whitney. You know, so and at the same time, you know, he's hurting. You know, he lost his ex and he lost his baby. You know, he's hurting. You know, so, you know, our prayers and our energy go out to you, brother. And we also are proud of you for, you know, what you did with the New Edition movie, man. It was real. It was much needed at the time that it came out. You know, so, you know, but may the ancestors embrace Bobby Christina. But what happened with her, she caught Nick Gordon with another man in the house, and Bobby Christina went off to the point where a physical altercation ensued between Nick and Bobby Christina, where, you know, Nick overpowered her and her head hit one of the knobs in the tub. You know, and she went unconscious. You know, and you know, by that blow had put a lot, you know, had made the brain swell up. A lot of fluid went to the brain, and so, you know, she was on life support for a very long time before Bobby made the decision to go ahead and release her and let her go with her mother, you know, among the ancestors. So that's what happened with Nick Gordon. Now, you don't see him around anywhere. You haven't heard about him or anything, because he's in hiding, because he knows that Bobby Brown and his family, when they catch him, they're going to tear his ass up, which I hope they do. You know, I know you all probably feel the same way. You know, and, you know, when Whitney was at her peak, you know, she had the Midas touch. Everything she touched turned to gold. She did the national anthem, put her twist on it, you know, and ripped it. Just as Marvin Gaye put his twist on it and ripped it. You know, so very special woman, you know. You know, and they tried to say that she was deranged and all this, out of control, the night before the Ascension. And see, those, you know, that was just to set up the Ascension. You know, to make the public think that, you know, Whitney was tripping and all this type of stuff. So it won't be hard. It'll be very easy to accept the Ascension. You see what I'm saying? So that's how they kept saying she was wild, out of control, and all this type of stuff. And what happened, someone was probably paid to say something to her as she was getting into her limo, you know, to tick her off. And that's what happened. So once she got ticked off, click, 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 all the paparazzi clicks her, you know, in a fucked up mood. You know, and so they just paid the media to make it appear like she was, you know, she lost her mind or whatever. Because just like when they don't like you, like the example, DMX. Every time DMX is arrested, they find the worst picture of him to post on TMZ and all the local news stations. Because of the fact they want people to buy into, you know, this crackhead shit. You know, so when they do take him out, first thing we'll think is it was drug related. And so, you know, that was the scenario with Whitney as well. You know. So, you know, we want to just say, you know, Queen, we love you, you know, and may the Creator and the ancestors bless you. I hope y'all got something out of this. You know, I'm just trying to put it out there for you all to understand and see the photos and the evidence of what I'm trying to convey to you, you know, as the truth. And till the next topic, Hotep, Black Power.